It's Wednesday, the 18th of March from Urbis in the heart of Greater Manchester. This is Channel M's Lunchtime News and these are today's headlines. On benefits because they can't stop drinking, the alcoholics costing taxpayers here in Greater Manchester millions of pounds.
In a lot of areas of Manchester, it's a social problem. It's being medicalised and treated as a medical condition. It's just putting a sticking plaster over a weeping wound.
Also coming up, safety patrols at A&E to cut the number of attacks on staff.
We've got 2 police officers on duty Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights doing patrols with the security guards.
And as there's a warning, charities are falling victim to the recession. We find out how it's affecting one in Wythenshawe.
People are either selling it online or holding on to it longer because they can't afford to replenish it.
Good afternoon. First, this lunchtime, alcoholics are costing taxpayers here in Greater Manchester millions of pounds. The number who are claiming disability benefits has been revealed. There are 4,000 across the 10 boroughs. Looking through each of them, Manchester has the most, with almost 1,500, followed by Salford with 500 and 460 in Rochdale. Trafford has the fewest with 180. Getting more on this for us now is Channel M's Beverley Walkden.
It's costing us taxpayers £10 million each year to keep more than 4,000 alcoholics on benefits. This man runs what he terms a priory for the poor and believes the government is just throwing money away.
In a lot of areas of Manchester, it's a social problem. It's being medicalised and treated as a medical condition, and they've treated it via medical substitute medication, and basically that it's not treating a social problem. You can't, it's just putting a sticking plaster over a weeping wound. And the reality is we have to take a holistic approach to the problem and deal with the whole person and their families.
Alcoholics receive incapacity benefit or severe disablement allowance depending on their situation. It's worth anywhere between £63 and £85 a week. But alcoholics say they're frustrated with a system that doesn't treat alcoholism as a disease.
It isn't seen as a disease by doctors, as far as I'm aware. And I believe they only get a brief sort of like education on alcoholism. But, you know, it's the same old thing. I mean, I can speak to alcoholics and they know exactly what I'm thinking, exactly what I'm saying and exactly the way I'm feeling. But if I speak to, like, somebody that can drink normally, they just don't understand.
What makes you different to the person who goes home and drinks a bottle of wine, maybe 2 bottles of wine an evening?
Again, it's my thinking. I'll just tell you a little scenario, that's something that you might see on TV, where somebody's in a pub and they've got half a pint and a taxi comes. And they just get up and they leave and go and get the taxi. I wouldn't do that. I would either drink what's left in the glass and miss the taxi and then have another drink. I just couldn't leave it there.
The Department for Work and Pensions say they're tightening up the rules on benefits, but point out that many alcoholics will also have mental health problems, and it's by no means a clear-cut problem. Beverley Walkden for Channel M News.
Police are investigating after a member of the public found a skull just off Queen's Road in Cheetham Hill. They're not sure how long it had been there, and they're also searching to see if there are any other body parts nearby. The grim discovery was made at the bottom of an embankment, and officers have described the search as problematic. The Austrian man who held his own daughter in a secret underground dungeon for 24 years has dramatically changed his pleas. Josef Fritzl, who fathered 7 children with Elizabeth Fritzl, has now admitted all the charges against him. They include rape, incest, enslavement and murder. That final charge relates to the death of one of the youngsters shortly after birth, who it's thought could have survived with better medical treatment. The 73-year-old says it was seeing his daughter's video evidence yesterday which persuaded him to admit what he'd done. He now faces a life prison sentence. The number of people unemployed has topped 2 million for the first time in 12 years. The latest figures show an extra 165,000 people lost their jobs in the 3 months to January, putting the total at 2.03 million. That's the worst figure since Labour came to power in 1997 and was the highest quarterly rise since 1991. The number claiming job seekers allowance also climbed last month to 1.39 million. Here in the northwest, there's been a 19,000 increase in the number out of work. It now stands at 262,000. Well, we're joined now by Jerry Stokes from Work Solutions. Jerry, good afternoon.
Hello.
Thanks for coming in. First of all, how surprised are you by this rise over that 2 million mark?
Well, the 2 million mark has a symbolic value, but I don't think anyone's terribly surprised. Last month's figures showed a data of around 1.97 million, so I think most of us assumed it was really only a matter of time before we hit that figure.
Now, yesterday we were hearing that here in Greater Manchester, I think around 12 people are chasing every single vacancy. It's incredibly difficult to try to get work. What can you guys be doing to try to help people back into jobs?
Well, we can offer a series of practical pieces of help to people, and a couple of areas I would highlight would be our Next Step service, which has already been working with some major employers in Greater Manchester over the last few months, handling redundancies and preparing people facing redundancy to give them the best possible chance of finding work as quickly as possible. Another service we offer is through Train to Gain, which enables us to actually reskill people who may be considering changes in the occupational sector that they want to work in.
That's especially important for people who've been in the same job for a long period of time, isn't it? It's not that easy to get back into work. Yes,
it is. That's absolutely true. One of the features of today's data, however, which I think points to a more encouraging picture, is nearly 200% increase in vacancies in Greater Manchester from last month. Those vacancies listed with Job Centre Plus. We acknowledge that's still 35% down on the position this time last year, but nonetheless a more encouraging picture than last month. OK, Jerry Stokes from Work Solutions, thank you very much for joining us this lunchtime. Thank you. A man's in a critical condition after a fight outside a pub in Failsworth. The 45-year-old ended up hitting his head on the road after getting punched outside the Sun Inn on Oldham Road on Saturday evening. It's thought his attacker was among a group on their way to watch the Amir Khan fight at the MEN Arena. The victim and his two friends had tried to step in when they saw an argument between a man and about 10 other people. New rules to overhaul the country's banking systems will be outlined later on. They'll tell financial institutions how they should be lending money and also stop them taking unnecessary risks. The idea is to stop them giving out too much money during boom years to try to prevent another big recession, possibly by building up reserves of cash. Special patrols are being laid on at one of our hospital's A&E departments. It's to protect staff at Rochdale Infirmary from attacks by patients who are drunk. Georgia Calvin-Smith's got more on this.
The threat of violence is a regrettable reality for many of the staff working in our hospitals. Weekends can be a particularly unpredictable time, and in response to a spate of attacks from drunken patients at Rochdale Infirmary, police officers will be patrolling the hospital in a bid to crack down on violent behaviour. And the repercussions for causing trouble won't necessarily end at arrest.
We've got 2 police officers on duty Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights, doing patrols with the security guards. Working along with that is we're involved with the pub watch scheme now in Rochdale, and that involves if members of the public come onto our site and they're abusive or violent to staff and they're under the influence of alcohol, then they will be banned from all the pubs in Rochdale as part of the pub watch scheme. So that is, it's a good deterrent.
Rochdale's not the only hospital in the Pennine Acute Hospitals NHS Trust to have invested more resources in combating violence in hospitals. The Royal Oldham has had police patrolling its wards for around 4 years in the hope that staff feel more reassured. In the last year, reports of violence from those working for the Trust leapt by 40% from the previous 12 months. And it's hoped that Rochdale's pub watch scheme could be the latest tool against the abuse. Because of its central location, A&E at Rochdale Infirmary is easily reached by people who might need to get here after having injured themselves after a night out drinking in the town centre. Alcohol often plays a major part in instances of aggressive or abusive behaviour towards hospital staff, and depending on the success of the scheme here, the Trust might well roll it out to the rest of its hospitals.
From the pilot in Rochdale, hopefully it will help staff to feel that they cared about, that we're doing something, because nobody should have to get used to it.
Georgia Calvin-Smith, Channel 10 News.
Well, we've been getting your comments in on this story all day. Thanks for all your texts and emails. Sue in Stockport's got in touch to say abusive drunks should be refused any hospital treatment until sober. Their condition is self-inflicted. We've also got this one in from Mike Waterfoot in Newton Heath, who was in hospital 3 years ago, and he says, I was amazed to see all the casualties coming in after being embroiled in fights. Since then, I've been petitioning my MP, suggesting that people who cause this kind of injury should be made to pay for the NHS treatment. Well, keep your messages coming in. Send your texts to 88821. Start your message with the word news, or you can email newsdesk@channelm.co.uk. The fastest man on earth will officially start the Great Manchester Run in May. Usain Bolt will take part in a special sprint before the race. The Jamaican runner broke 3 world records at last year's Olympics and is a big Manchester United fan. He's been invited over by Sir Alex Ferguson and during his visit will train with Cristiano Ronaldo. Ryan Giggs is to be awarded the Freedom of Salford. The decision's being officially approved at a meeting there. The Manchester United winger's been nominated by lifelong Reds fan and councillor John Warmisham. He's the first person to get the accolade since Nelson Mandela in 2005. Right, let's take a look at the sports headlines now, and Mike's here with news of a major signing over at Edgeley Park.
James, thank you. Sale Sharks have pulled off a major coup by signing World Cup winning winger Ben Cohen. But what do we know of the player? Well, he's 30 years of age and currently plays for French outfit Brive, although he's perhaps better known for spending a decade with Northampton Saints. While he was there, he scored over 100 tries in 276 games and also lifted the Heineken Cup. For England, he was equally prolific, running in 31 tries in his 57 appearances to date. A close friend of Jason Robinson, Cohen joins the Sharks on a 2-year deal. Now, there was heartbreak for the Manchester ice hockey team in their Challenge Cup final second leg against the Belfast Giants last night. They went down 3-1, 6-5 on aggregate, although Tony Hand's men do have an early opportunity to gain some revenge as they face the same team in the first leg of the Knockout Cup final in Altrincham on Sunday afternoon. That's a game which also doubles up as the final league game of the season. Now, switching sports, and Oldham Rugby League Football Club head coach Tony Benson joined us on this morning's breakfast show, and I began by asking him if he thought he could replicate the success he had previously enjoyed at Leigh Centurions with his new club.
You know, always confident when it comes to coaching. At Leigh we had some very good players, but I think at Oldham at the moment we've got more potential than we had at Leigh. As a team, and you know, it's going to take us time. It's a project in motion, and we're working through it at the moment, but I think at the end we're going to have a fantastic side, very entertaining. When you look at the people we've got there now, you know, Paul Riley just come out of Super League, and Marcus St Hilaire with an illustrious career behind him, Paul Heighton just come from Salford. You know, there's a number of players there who are, you know, very good Super League players, so they're not doing too bad, and I think it's purely because it's such a well-organised club. It's got a name for looking after players. I think Chris does a really good job of you know, sticking to what he says he's going to do for people, and that attracts people and keeps them there, and they don't seem to have any trouble keeping players.
Manchester United Supporters Trust spokesman Sean Bones, he's added his voice to the mounting criticism directed at the FA for demanding both this year's FA Cup semi-finals take place at the new Wembley. In his opinion, it's the wrong venue at the wrong time.
Well, it's an absolutely crazy decision. If you were to ask the majority of Manchester United supporters or Everton supporters, along with the managers, they say that to play the semi-final at Wembley devalues the semi-final. Then to compound the mistake by putting the match on Sunday, when you've got 2 North-West clubs, you know, in the past they used to flip a coin and either play at Main Road or Anfield. And supporters have to meet the additional expense to travel to Wembley at a time when there's not much money around is crazy. And I think the only conclusion you can come to is that the football authorities haven't taken the feelings and the wishes of supporters on board, and you can only conclude that it's a money-making exercise at a time when supporters have no money in already emptying pockets.
The Manchester University's boat race takes place on May the 10th, and as we've been finding out, both teams are already hard at work for the annual clash.
Relative to last year, I mean, we had probably one of our more successful years last year. This year we've managed to maintain most of the people within our squads, and we've got quite a good intake this year. So hopefully the men's side again should hopefully win everything.
To be honest, I think there's always quite a big rivalry there, but it's nice to see Manchester down here. I think we are there is like quite a lot of respect for Manchester. They are a very, very big club and they are very successful. So hopefully they'll start to think of us in the same way if we can show them that we are getting better.
This is an ideal location. I was here last year for the Two Cities boat race and it was awesome because not only did we have a fantastic view of the races that were going on the day, but we had street cheer here, there was face painting for the kids going on, lots of various different activities. I think they even had a samba group dancing away and strutting their stuff. So it's an ideal location for both watching the race and having a bit of fun at the same time.
That's it from me for today, but Sam Goodman will be with you from 5 o'clock this afternoon with all your latest sports headlines.
Mike, thank you very much indeed. Still ahead on the lunchtime news, the charities here in Greater Manchester feeling the pinch because of the recession, and we're finding out why councils are being told to ditch the jargon and speak in more simple terms.
Now, destroy that word. That's it. It is official. The word paradigm is hereby expunged.
Welcome back to Channel M's Lunchtime News. Don't forget you can always go online to channelm.co.uk to either watch this programme again or any of our other reports as well. On there right now, the lessons in energy saving that have seen the lights switched off at one Greater Manchester school, and why there are fears Rochdale could soon be turning into a ghost town. That's at channelm.co.uk. Figures show half of the country's charities are being hit by the recession. Many say they're expecting it to have a big impact on what work they are able to do. With that in mind, we've been to Wythenshawe to see how bosses of a shop there are coping. Here's Nina Warhurst.
Rachel has managed Oxfam in Wythenshawe for 14 months, but she says since the new year she's seen a drop in donations of around a third.
People are either selling it online or holding on to it longer because they can't afford to replenish it. And car boot sales, things like that. I think people are trying to get as much money as possible from what they've got.
And it's not just Oxfam that's suffering. According to the Charity Commission, 52% of charities say they've been badly affected by the credit crunch. That's up from 38% in September.
And the problems for charities like this at the moment are, of course, twofold. A drop in donations as well as an increase in demand for their services.
Well, obviously our sales are going to fall, which will impact on what we do overseas and certainly in the UK, our projects. So it means that, you know, we have to work that much harder with what we've got to keep the donations going overseas and in the UK.
But Rachel says there is a silver lining. People who used to have disposable income are now increasingly turning to charity shops. And some charities, like Comic Relief, are being rewarded for making the extra effort because of the credit crunch. Like everyone at the moment, charities must adapt in order to survive. Oxfam is pushing its Marks and Spencer scheme, where customers are rewarded with a £5 voucher for donating M&S clothing. And the Charity Commission says it's time more organisations started thinking about collaborating as a way of sharing expertise and costs. Nina Warhurst, Channel M News.
Now, a report is calling for councils to stop using 200 words or phrases that are considered unnecessary jargon. Business speak like revenue stream, fast tracking and incentivising are all on the list. The Local Government Association is worried that such descriptions stop ordinary people understanding what officials are saying. We've been asking people what words get on their nerves that they'd like to see banned.
Brilliant.
Why do you hate brilliance?
Because every damn television commentator said it's brilliant.
Do you think the word is overused?
It is.
Yeah? So you'd scratch that one?
I would.
Fantastic. Everybody much overuses that word as well, I think so anyway.
Low-hanging fruit.
Never heard that one.
Apparently that means easily achievable objectives that you can achieve quite quickly, so...
Well, that would perhaps be one that needs to be thrown in the bin.
Yeah. You could go too far, couldn't you? Because if you take out all the words that mean particular things, you won't be able to communicate, you know?
Yeah, that's true. Sometimes you just need to use the basic words rather than your complex word like you're saying.
Paradigm.
Think we should ban that one?
Yeah.
So,
because
paradigm is out.
It's out, yeah. For me, it's out.
Well, tear it off the page. Go on, get rid of it, and you can scrap it officially. Now, destroy that word. That's it. It is official. The word paradigm is hereby expunged from the English language. Back to you, James.
Thanks very much, Kevin. Well, we can get some more on this now. We're joined by Marie-Claire from the Plain English campaign here in Greater Manchester. Marie, good afternoon. What's so wrong with some of these phrases that we've been seeing there?
Well, as that lady just showed, what is right about it? I mean, why use these words when a straightforward one that we're all familiar with will do? These are our councils talking to us. We're not being addressed by some great literary body. Let's just say it in plain English.
The sorts of words and phrases that we're talking about here, are they just annoying or do they provide genuine barriers to people understanding?
Well, we had the first 100 that the Local Government Association put out, and those were composed out of their own findings in their own offices, and now they've got 200. And I know that there are councils out there like Harrow Council, Islington, who are all doing some really good work, and they're getting the residents to tell them what the gobbledygook is. And they're getting increasing amounts of words thrown back. So words like citizen empowerment, and come on, let's talk to people and talk about giving them a chance to be involved. You know, let's not talk about this consultation. Just talk to me. It's not necessary, it's overinflated, and it's taking words out of context. These are fine when you're talking with your peers and you're in a specialist environment, but when you're talking to people on a very universal basis, and we're talking right across the board in a nation where we've got literacy rates that are dropping. I've just seen in the headlines there, Daily Mail are saying 1 in 7 school children have got English as a second language. Now, things like that, they need to take on board when they're talking to just local residents. We're not stupid, but we just want to know, understand, and be able to act on it first time.
OK, Marie-Claire from the Plain English campaign, thank you very much for joining us this lunchtime. Let's take a look at the weather now in plain English, of course, with Michelle Eagleton.
It is a lot milder than it has been over the past couple of days. Highs are between 10 and 11 expected right across the region. Although we've lost the cloud that we had this morning, we are looking forward to a really nice, pleasant afternoon. Lots of sunshine until about 7, 8, when really a few of those showers are going to kick in. They will be brief because overnight should dry up, although tomorrow pretty much the same picture as today we're expecting. Really nice glorious weather for your Friday and Saturday, and cooling down slightly on Sunday, highs of 12.
This is Channel M, our top stories. Figures show taxpayers here in Greater Manchester are spending £10 million a year on disability benefits for alcoholics. Across the 10 boroughs, there are 4,000 getting full-time payouts of £84.50 a week. Once a person gets such a payout, they're then also eligible for other benefits. A skull has been found in Cheetham Hill. Police tell us they don't know how long it's been there, and they're now looking for any other body parts that are nearby. They do tell us, though, that the search is proving problematic. Unemployment has now reached its highest level in 12 years. It's passed the 2 million mark for the first time since Labour came to power in 1997. If you've got any thoughts on any of those stories and you'd like to get in touch, we'd love to hear from you. Do send us a text. The number's 88821. Start your message with the word news, or email newsdesk@channelm.co.uk. More on all those stories in our early evening news with Andy Crane from 5 o'clock tonight. But from me and the rest of the Lunchtime team, have a very good afternoon. Bye-bye for now.